anxiety is a lot of times produced by ruminations of the past or expectations of the future. Agree?
Welcome
Yes.
to the AfterMeth podcast. This is your host, Dr. Dallas Bragg, a former crystal meth addict, now sobriety coach. Join me on my mission to increase awareness around the epidemic of crystal meth among the gay male population and create a repository of resources for current and past addicts, as well as and especially for their loved ones. This is the AfterMeth. Trigger warning, this podcast will contain discussions pertaining to drug and alcohol misuse. If you feel triggered to use or relapse, please call SAMHSA's national hotline at 1-800-662-HELP. Also, if you are new in your sobriety journey and you feel like you could be triggered by discussions around drug, alcohol, and sex misuse, please do not listen to this podcast. All right, now on with the show. Hey y'all, stick around to the end of the episode and you're going to get a treat, a meditation led by Jason. It is a meditation for addicts who are dealing with cravings. Also, if you want to hire Jason to be your meditation teacher, you can get a discount. Use Dallas1 as your discount code and you will get 15% off his meditation course. All right, enjoy. Okay, welcome to this week's episode of the AfterMeth. I am actually a little giddy today for our guest. I am so excited. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I found this gentleman and his companion on TikTok, and I was just so excited and pleased, and really it brought out the kid in me. And to be honest, the kid in me, the inner child, hadn't been able to come out for a while, and there was something about this account that just really enticed me. And then when we met, I thought this would be a perfect podcast. So without further ado, I'm going to let my guest Jason introduce himself.
Hello, thank you very much for having me on. My name is Jason Linney. I've been a meditator for about the last 8.5 years or so. But it changed my life so dramatically that I became a meditation teacher about 4 years ago. And over the last many years, I've had, as we all have, many adventures, many highs and lows in the world, and I've had some pretty big lows. Meditation was able to pick me up and restore me back to myself in a pretty major way. I've had a big good partying past, and it almost consumed me, which is a very, very familiar story. And the thing that more than anything else helped me get myself back to me again, which sounds like a corny song, but was my meditation practice. But the thing that bothered me, I think, the most was the fact that it just seems so weird and alien when you first look at it. So I've always vowed to, when I started to do meditation, to try and make it more relatable. So that's what I do now. I got made redundant back in February, and so I've now kind of gone full time ahead, trying to basically make meditation fun, and enjoyable, and slightly different from what you'd normally see.
Yeah. Well, mission accomplished.
Thank you.
So you have a TikTok channel, Monkey Mind Meditation.
Yeah.
For the listeners here, and really, I would say anyone who has faced addiction, when you're in treatment, and I preach it too in all of my content, is meditate. The value of meditation. And it seems overwhelming. It seems fun wouldn't be a word that you would associate typically with meditation. No. I think it's misunderstood. I think it feels overwhelming. And we have a hard time, I know my clients have a hard time associating the value of it. And 9 times out of 10, I will hear, I can't meditate. I can't keep my mind still. I can't control my thoughts. It's impossible, you know.
Mm, mm,
And I know for me, just being able to pause my thoughts for 30 seconds has been the difference between me pursuing a craving or me
mm,
pivoting to something else. So if 30 seconds of stopping my thoughts and pausing is that
mm,
powerful, how much
mm,
more is it to learn to meditate?
mm. Yeah, so there's a lot there.
Mhm.
But my mind's too busy. My It's the busiest mind in the world, which was the when I first started to teach people to meditate, everybody came up to me, sometimes with an element of pride in their voice. I was like, I can't meditate because I have the busiest mind in the world. And I thought that's really interesting because I mean a lot of people kind of almost have that as part of their identity,
Mhm.
which is a whole other thing. So I decided to call my little organization Monkey Mind Meditation. Now, Monkey Mind is a phrase that I nicked from all the monks. The monks talk about your monkey mind, this kind of chattering, pinging around, all that kind of stuff. And the reason why I called it Monkey Mind, well, like I say, A, the monks, but B, because everyone's got it.
Mhm.
Everyone has it. So I thought I'm going to put the main problem up front and center and an acknowledgement that, yeah, we've all got chattering monkey mind. And that's society that we're living in now, which we'll probably touch upon later on. And so I then have to ask people, well, I just need you to have a little bit of hope that you can do that and a willingness to be open-minded.
Mhm.
And so since then, I've always identified myself now as the person who helps people who don't identify as meditators,
Ah.
you know, because ultimately it's like saying, I'm too unfit to go to the gym. All right. My teeth are too dirty to start brushing.
Uh-huh.
All right. It's like, no, you've got it the other way around. All right.
Yeah.
Because you have a very, very busy mind, you're an absolutely ideal candidate for the practice of meditation. And I think a lot of it boils down to fundamentally the misconception as to what meditation does. And incidentally, you inadvertently said part of the myth,
Ah.
in as much as you said, get my mind to stop.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah.
That's really interesting. No.
Mm.
But see, that's the systemic
Mm.
um, belief.
Mm.
It's like I have to get my mind to stop,
Mm.
and it's the pink elephant syndrome. If I said to you, okay, Dallas, I'd like you to think of a pink elephant. You'll be able to do it for a few minutes, and then you start thinking of something else,
Mm. Yeah.
and then you go, oh my God, I failed. I failed because I started thinking of something else. But, well, of course you did, because your mind thinks.
Mm.
But then if I turn around and said, no. Okay, now I want you to do the opposite. Now I do not want you to think about a pink elephant.
Mm.
You'll have failed in 2 seconds.
Mhm.
So whatever you're trying to get your brain to do, it will do the opposite because you're thinking about not doing the opposite.
I see.
It's a
I
bit of a
see.
head
Yeah,
messing
yeah.
with your head a bit. It messes with
Yeah.
your head.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it boils down to the fact that meditation is more about awareness of your
Okay.
thoughts.
Okay.
It's awareness of your thoughts. It's a non-judgment of what comes up,
Mm.
and it's kind of there's a there's a great meditation phrase that said basically you are the sky and the weather are your thoughts.
Mm.
So there's you underneath it all or above it all, but then you've got if you're having a bad day, then it's bad weather, all those bad clouds underneath you. But ultimately, you can watch the bad weather from above.
Mm.
Still going to happen, but you're one step removed from that.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a this is what I'm
It's,
hearing. It's a
yeah,
detachment
Right.
From the thought,
Right.
you become the observer of them,
Yes. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you're not
Because
saying I have to clear my head. I have to stop. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Right. And as like, I can't not think. Well, of course you can't not think. You can't not think. And people think that that's what they have to do. And the second that they start thinking, they then assume that they've got it wrong. And then they say that they can't do meditation. I was like, no, 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 no. Fundamentally, then meditation, the practice of meditation hasn't been explained in the correct way or gotten over in the correct way. And I don't think it helps whenever you Google the phrase meditation. I was going to do it on my iPad, but obviously you've got listeners as well. If you were to Google the word meditation and then look at the images, all you'll see, 99.5%, is somebody sitting bolt upright, cross-legged, with their fingers up like that in what's called the mudra. Most of them are sitting overlooking a valley or a sunset, bedecked in Lululemon. All right.
Yes,
They're all beautiful.
that's
And
right.
it's like how I don't identify with that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I was sitting on my sofa a minute ago before I came on here, and I was meditating, and I sit with my legs crossed a bit,
Okay.
and I have I just have my hands sitting there like that. But because I was quite deep, I know I was sitting there like that.
His head's down. Yeah.
A little bit of dribble might come up, and you wake up and it's like, oh, okay, fine. You know. So
that I don't think that image would come up if you Googled meditation.
it really wouldn't. It really, really wouldn't. No. I mean, the only kind of guideline would be when you do a good meditation practice is basically have your back supported, head and shoulders free, like that. So that, because if you lay back or you lay back on your head, you'll just fall asleep.
Okay.
And sleep's nice, but it's not meditation.
Okay. So what is meditation?
Right. Meditation is just a big question, but meditation is awareness. And it could be awareness of the current now.
Okay.
It could be awareness of a flame. It could be awareness of a mantra that we're talking about. But the snag that we have here is there's many different types of meditation. So the question, what is meditation, is like the question, what is sport? All right.
I see.
Well, sport's an active something that we move our body around in. That's about as easy as you can get with sport, right? Well, it's an activity for your body. Well, meditation is an activity for your mind, but it does depend on what type of meditation.
Okay.
And so again, people might, for instance, people get put off and they'll say, well, why have you put off? Oh, I did meditation at the end of a yoga class. I said, well, how did that work? And they said, well, I just sat back and he told me to concentrate on a ball of white light infusing my soul.
Yeah. That sounds like one of mine.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with balls of white light infusing soul.
Yeah.
I want to say I'm not going to meditation shame here. There is nothing wrong with all of those, but people assume that that's what it is, and then they thought, I don't like that, or they'll be chanting, like the Buddhist chant, Nam Yoho Renge Kyo. They go Nam Yoho Renge.
That's what I say. That's actually
Renge Kyo. That's your one.
That's my. I chant that every morning.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And again, that's what works for you.
That right.
Might not work for other people.
Right. Yeah.
You've got mindfulness meditations, you've got walking meditations, you've got eating meditations. Meditation is basically, there's a brilliant philosopher called Alan Watts.
Yes.
And he has the most beautiful voice of any human being alive, I think. And my favorite quote of his is, meditation is a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And that's what it is. Because if you're sitting in the now, in the present, in the, that infinite sliver of this moment, then you can, let's start again. I'll start from a different way. Anxiety is a lot of times produced by ruminations of the past or expectations of the future. Agree? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of times when we think about the past, we replay old things, and then we replay the emotion that goes with that.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be guilt, shame, anger, whatever it might be, and that inherently gives us a stress response. And I'm sure you know this. I'm sure you know this. Rumination about thinking about the future, massive anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just your imagination, right? So
Right.
and our mind obviously can't distinguish between any of those. But if you're sitting in the absolute now, if you're sitting in present moment, where nothing actually inherently bad is happening to you at that present moment, then it is impossible to be anxious about the future or the past. You can't hold that paradigm together at the same time.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And back to, I probably used the wrong words, but when you're faced with a craving, you're tempted,
Mm,
you're having thoughts of, I want to party. Somebody just
right.
texted me, right? It's not
Yeah.
stopping your thoughts. It's being in this moment.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
could inhibit you from moving forward or
Right.
thinking about how fun it was, or whatever it
Yeah.
is,
Yes.
is being
Yeah.
in that
And
moment.
absolutely. And it's kind of, people will obviously say breathe into it, breathe into that moment. But it's leaning into that emotion, and instead of running away from it, be curious about it, which
Mhm.
is initially challenging. All right, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
It can be challenging. Um, but the thing about that is that, so meditation is brilliant for that. But I would advocate to anybody. I know a lot of people who use it, and they come onto the lives that we do on TikTok, and they'll go, "I've had a terrible day. I really need this,"
Uh-huh.
and it's like, brilliant. That is fantastic, and I love that. However, if you have a long-term meditation practice, you probably wouldn't need this as much,
Oh, ah, I love that.
right?
Yeah.
It's like people who use it like in case of emergency, break glass.
Ah.
And like dehydration, if you suddenly find out you think you need water, you're already too dehydrated.
Hmm.
All right. So prevention in this case is better than cure.
Hmm. I love
And that
that.
goes to the style of meditation that I teach, which
Okay.
is considerably different from a lot of them. It's sitting there. In other worlds it's called transcendental meditation. In
Okay.
other worlds it's called Vedic meditation.
Yes.
And what I teach then is comes from that same tree, but
Yeah.
it's been de-woo-wooed,
Okay. Good.
and it's sitting there, and it's reciting a mantra, a nice sounding word, slowly in your mind. And it's this groovy little mental technique that I teach people that allows your mind to just step away from its thoughts.
Hmm.
So they still happen.
Mm-hmm.
They do still happen, but you become detached to them. They become slippery.
Hmm. Slippery.
Slippery, yes. Whereas whenever we do get cravings and we get triggered and all that stuff, and I've been there.
Yeah.
That's hyperfixation on that, isn't it? And suddenly it's just pounding in your head. It's like, yeah, well, you do that. If you do that, do that. Yeah, this is going to be great. It's going to be great. And or okay, I'm just too tired. I'm just going to give in because this is just rattling in my head. Whereas taking a step back and doing that style of meditation allows you to have those thoughts, but as soon as you notice you have those thoughts, you gently swing back to the mantra, and you do this wonderful little dance in your head between your thoughts and the mantra.
Okay.
And then eventually, quite often what can happen is that you kind of forget to think, but you forget the mantra,
Hmm.
and suddenly you just are. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say so.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
The snag to that is as soon as you try and find it and get it, you're not going to get it.
Yeah. Hmm.
When you make it a doing thing, when you make it an expectation, preference,
Hmm.
then all of a sudden you're striving to do something.
Yeah.
And this is a non-doing. This is training your brain into non-doing,
Hmm.
not doing nothing, a non-doing. There's a very, very subtle but very powerful distinction with that.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just thinking about if I've ever reached that point before, but it's kind of the same thing, like you said, of don't think, when you're saying or trying not to do something, it's not going to happen. When you're trying to get to that quote
Yeah.
unquote nirvana state, whatever it is,
Yeah.
yeah, you're not going to get there. And the, what I love about this too is that, just like you were saying, the preventative nature, the
Mm,
proactive benefit of this is that, for me, if I have a bad day, I don't have to call my sponsor. I don't have to run
right.
to a meeting. I have the remedy here. I am
Yes.
in control of my
Yeah.
life,
Yeah. Yeah.
depending on,
A-
through this,
a-
through my own body.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's kind of amazing, really, because for twice a day for 20 minutes each time, you get to have a little holiday in your head. Now, they're not always going to be pleasant, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're allowing thoughts to come up,
Mm-hmm.
then they're not always going to be pleasant. But we accept anything that comes up in our meditation. And it is the power of that acceptance that's a major player in the whole meditative practice.
I love that.
Yeah. But the real magic starts to happen when it's consistent. Because by having that your mind, taking your mind out of that fight or flight all the time consistently, that means your mind actually gets stronger, because it's like a software upgrade every single time you meditate. And in our minds, there's scattered stuff all over the place, and there's a lot of shit going on, but also there's a lot of stress coming in all the time.
Yeah.
So our minds are busy just fighting that just to stay afloat. Whereas if we can reduce that with a meditative practice, then the mind goes, right, okay, I've got a little bit of time to start clearing up around here and start putting together all the files where they should be.
Yeah.
And so little by little, the body's and the mind's natural intelligence starts to just sort itself out.
Mm.
Best analogy I can give you is I've got a scar here. When I was 16 years old, I fell down, broke, blood everywhere, and they stitched it up. And I knew, and they told me that I had to keep that clean. If you kept it clean, it would heal.
Mm.
Same as your mind. If you can step out of your mind's way, there is a natural intelligence within it that knows what to do to put everything back in place.
Wow.
So you become more and more you. You start to return. Your senses come online. Your connection with people comes online. And this is what gets me excited,
Mm.
because everybody talks about the calm, and I love the calm. The calm is brilliant, brilliant. We all know this.
Mhm.
But you'll see I've deliberately worn this T-shirt today with my little logo. It's and I spent a lot of time with a graphic designer explaining to him my concept, and he came up with these scrumptious looking colors, and that's because that's the word I use. I want to look delicious,
Yeah.
because I love the fact that once you remove that anxiety and that stress, and all you start coming online again, everything just seems a little bit brighter.
Wow.
And your connections to humans become a little bit stronger. And you become present in your day-to-day life as a beautiful side effect, not as the aim,
Mm.
but as the side effect.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Mm.
I love that. I mean, I stopped drinking and partying about 6.5 years ago now. 6.5 years, yeah. And I feel now like I felt when I was a young kid,
Mm.
and not as in like a child, but before everything came in and fucked everything up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I feel now. I feel very centered with myself. And I'm still aware of the challenges that I have in my head. I'm not saying that it will all go away, because it's like a garden; it needs tending.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I've often said, it's, for those of you who like Harry Potter, it's like a Patronus charm. I don't know if that means anything to you.
I don't know
But
anything about Harry Potter,
all right.
but yeah.
So these horrible ghoulies called Dementors that represent depression in Harry Potter. And in
Mm.
order to get rid of them, you have to make this spell where you have to think of a really happy thought, and it makes a force field around you, and it's called a Patronus charm.
I see. I see.
And so I just view it like as a mental force field. Every time I meditate, that force field gets stronger.
Mm.
And when I don't, it starts to crumble, and all the shit from life, from the universe, from our maladaptive behaviors, from all of the rewiring that may have gone on in our heads, it all starts to come back again.
Mm. Mm.
So it's not like, oh yeah, I've meditated, I've hit nirvana, brilliant.
Yeah.
The people who meditate with me, and then they get phenomenal results. They love it. And they're like, oh, I didn't expect this to happen. And then a few months later, they went, do you know what? I thought I was okay, so I stopped meditating. I said, oh, really? What happened? They went, yeah, it all came back pretty quick, didn't it? I was
Yeah.
like, well, you don't go to a gym and get ripped and then just start eating pizzas again. So there we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So much there. Thank you. What it occurs to me while you're talking is that, from my point of view, in my discussions every day, I have people reaching out to me every day, all day. How do I quit crystal meth? How do I quit? And they're searching for answers. They've gone to treatment, and they've, the 12-step meetings or whatever. They're trying to fix it with their own thinking. And what I hear you saying is they're in their own way by thinking, trying to fix it with thinking, when if they could separate themselves from the thinking,
Yes.
it's an organic process that, again, brings you back to you, your soul self,
Yes.
who you were when you came into this world before all of the shit.
Right.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. That's beautifully put. It's understanding that thinking is a verb.
Mm.
It's a doing action. I've got my little notebook here. I'm not even going to show you what's in it, because my handwriting is so atrocious. It is terrible. I've been renowned for having bad handwriting. I don't identify as a bad handwriter. All right. I'm just somebody who has bad handwriting.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
So but the problem is, because people identify with their thoughts, and then they turn that into who they are.
Yeah.
They like personify that.
Yeah.
I'm a bad person. I'm having these terrible thoughts. I'm a shit human being. Oh, I've got regrets from a relapse. All of that stuff. All right. Those are just thoughts. They are not you. They're just something that you're doing. And because of all the worrying and all the stuff that's been going on, they're not useful thoughts.
Yeah.
But I'm a shit person because I relapse is as real a thought as I fancy some Reese's Pieces.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
They're still just thoughts.
Mm.
And so the meditation allows us to really, really separate that and to understand and to look down and say, okay, well, that's my friend of mine used to call it poisonous parrot. That's my poisonous parrot talking.
Mhm.
That doesn't, is that the reality? I don't think that's the reality. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, that's not the reality, you know. And I still get them. And I've been meditating for 8 years. You
Mm.
know, the world is so complicated now, and there's so much hyperstimulation and information overload and all that kind of stuff that our minds are battling every single day.
Yeah.
And so it's very difficult to discern what thoughts are useful and what ones aren't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so meditation allows you to be more cognizant of what is objectively true and not subjectively true.
Mm.
And it feels really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's a beautiful little bit of self-care, and it's the ultimate portable tool. You know, it's
Yeah.
portable technology.
That's
You can
right.
sit down
Yeah.
anywhere. And, I've sat there in the middle of Atlanta airport at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, and I've meditated. And if you can do that, you can do that anywhere.
Yeah. 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 The identification of the thoughts. It's so rampant with an addict, especially the
Mm.
ones that have to say I'm an addict every day they go to a meeting,
Mm.
and they begin to identify with that. I like for people to say I'm experiencing addiction. Or,
Mm.
in terms of it's yes, it's here, but it's not me.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I've always been slightly challenged with when people turn around and say, I have an addictive personality.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, well, you might be prone to addictive behaviors, but again, there's almost a sense of ownership and pride there sometimes.
It is. There is.
And it's like, okay, unbeknownst to them, and it's no one's fault, but it's like, because you're identifying to that, that's going to be really hard to extract.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Because anything different will give you that cognitive dissonance
Mhm.
that we find very uncomfortable as humans, isn't it?
That's right. Right. So the other one that I see is there is a deep correlation. This is based on research that addicts are also identified and diagnosed with ADHD.
Mm.
And I resonate with Dr. Gabor Mate's philosophy is that as a child we were faced with some events or trauma events, or we didn't get what we needed right away, or we couldn't process an emotion, so we immediately distracted ourselves to not deal with what we couldn't deal with, and we developed a behavior of ADHD.
Right.
But when I decide I have ADHD, that means I can't meditate because I'm all, and I'm all over the place in this country. So what would you suggest in terms of if I say to you, I have ADHD, how can I meditate? What would be some suggestions?
Well, I get that asked a lot on the lives. And it's quite difficult because obviously ADHD, like all these things, is on a spectrum. And so it's somebody might have like extreme ADHD, and I'm not medically qualified to advise on that. That's I honestly, the thing that I would always say is that go and talk to your medical professional and say, I want to undertake a meditation thing. Do you think this is good for me? Because I get a lot of people who are on the autistic spectrum as well ask me that. It's like, I can't, in all honesty, diagnose you because I know nothing about you, and I shouldn't be diagnosing. So that's really, really interesting. One of the things that I know that, ADHD, there's a lot of racing thoughts and a lot of times and that kind of thing. And they'll say what many people do already is, how do I stop my racing thoughts?
Right.
I was like, you don't.
You don't.
Have as many as you like. Have as many as you like, but just note that whenever you do have them, that you suddenly, as soon as you realize you're having those racing thoughts, you're back in the now, you're back in the present, and you've detached.
Mm.
And all you need to do, well, certainly with my meditation is, or my style of meditation, not my personal meditation, is to just gently go back to the mantra that I give you and have that wafting around in your head. And then you'll have another thought, and that's okay. And if you have to have 500 thoughts in 15 minutes, have 500 thoughts.
Mm.
That's okay. And then people say, well, I'm fidgety. What do I do? I was like, move, scratch. You know, I did, my little character did a poem I wrote called "It's Okay to Fart in Meditation." You know, and you know, it's okay to fart in meditation. It's okay to something burp and scratch,
Mm.
or have thoughts of your ex or a purple T-Rex. Do what you want. You know, anything that happens in the meditation is supposed to happen. And don't go into it for a meditative experience. All right. Don't go in there thinking, yay, nirvana.
Right. Yeah.
Why am I not calm now? All
Yeah.
right. You made it a doing thing.
Yeah.
So the actual practice of meditation is actually phenomenally straightforward.
Okay.
But the problem is the same as the problem that many people that struggle with addiction, is that they let their thoughts get in the way.
Mm.
And they let that overcomplicate things. And to understand that the technique itself is only a small part of the whole meditation experience.
Mm.
And once people get the hang of that, they're like, oh, right. Oh my God, that's so much easier than I thought, they would all say.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I know. I've been saying that for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I'm involved with the spiritual community. And as with any other community, I guess, there tends to be an infiltration of hierarchy, the spiritual righteousness.
Oh, yeah.
That you're only so spiritual until you meditate this way, or you're going to see me out in the field, just like what you're saying. I'm out in the field. I've got the sunset behind me.
Yeah. Conspicuously meditating.
Right. I can't even cross my legs for that long, to be honest. My knees don't take it. They just can't take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that's another pressure that we face, is that if I don't do it this way, I'm not spiritual. It's them. I'm never going to be. So why try? Why start?
It's such an interesting thing, isn't it? Because I put something up on my TikTok a while back. It was a bit of a rant. It's the only rant I've ever put up. I thought I'd try that to see what happens with the algorithm. It's like, let's stir up some controversy, but I'm not a controversial person, so I didn't really like it. But I got genuinely quite irked by somebody who was on there. And he said, this does my head in. He said, okay, guys, meditation, pro tip. So that's how he started. Professional tip, pro tip. In order to have a good meditation, I was like, well, you've lost me straight away there, because there's no such thing as a good or bad meditation. So immediately my hackles are risen. I was like, can brace myself for this. And he said, in order to have a good meditation, you have to activate all 4 elements.
Oh.
And so he suggested have a feather for wind, or talk using your breath.
Oh, well.
Talk.
Okay.
All right. Good. Candle, obviously, for fire. Great. Or have a fire around you. Great. You need to have, what was the other one? Water. Yeah. So either have a glass of water or a cup of tea. So at the same time as you're talking,
you're drinking tea.
Twirling a feather, you're drinking tea. And this is for a good meditation.
Yeah.
And then also to have your feet on the earth.
All right.
Or be naked in a wood like I am, he said. And I was like, well, that's a That's a lot of conditions for a good meditation.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot of conditions. And it's like, okay, in order to have a good meditation for me, you need to say, I'm going to meditate. Good. Right. There's a good meditation straight away.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to sit down.
The intention of it.
You need to sit down.
Mhm.
You need to have a little, you can have a timer on your watch, clock, whatever, and you meditate. No music, no incense, no conditions. No conditions. Of course, it's nice to ritualize it. You know, like on a Sunday morning, I get up and I'll make a cozy little nest in my bed and I sit up against the headboard and I meditate. And that's delicious and lovely. But
Yeah.
I'll sit on a train and do it.
Ah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, there is you're right. That's a lot of stuff that I'm having a quiet war against.
Yeah.
And again, if you like all that stuff, then fill your boots. But that's not what I'm doing.
Right. Right.
That's not what I'm doing. My spirituality, quote unquote, comes from my beautiful connection with my friends, from the laughs that I get from my nephews and nieces because I'm totally present with them, from the beautiful bunch of flowers that a friend of mine gave me the other day, and I sat and stared at them for about 10 minutes, just going, God, I love those colors. All right. To me, that's about as spiritual as it can get. Just this phenomenal joy of being alive and connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't need anything other than that, than me, myself, and I.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely there's a lot of gurus out there. Gurus.
Yeah, gurus. Well, and it's especially with somebody who's coming out of addiction, it's got to be simple, it's got to be
Right.
doable, and it's got to be something that you can almost get something, a value, instant value from somehow, and I think that with this practice, you may not get a snap value, but you know what? You also can't get sober in a snap either. It's all a journey and it's a process.
No, you're right. The strange thing about that, however, is that whenever people do learn the technique that I teach people, their first meditation is, by and large, pretty cosmic.
Okay. All right.
And they're like, oh my God, what happened there? Because that's what happened to me.
Okay.
And then the next thing I will say to them is, the next one won't be like that.
No.
Every meditation is going to be different. And just remember that, and the biggest phrase that I was taught by my meditation teacher is, you don't do meditation to have a good meditation. You do meditation to have a good life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've done one meditation today, and it was just lovely. And I was just like, ugh, and I was just out cold.
And drooling.
Now I'm going to do, drooling. Yes. Now the next one I do, I could just be stock upright, or the next one I could do could be really full with thoughts and a bit panicky even. And it's like, and then I have to go, okay, it's one of those. All right, let it go.
Okay.
And as soon as I let it go, then I go,
yeah.
Because I don't put a condition on what I consider to be a good or bad. I mean, you don't put conditions on a good or bad brushing of your teeth.
Right.
Yeah. You brush your teeth, and sometimes it feels nice, and you're like, you do go away consciously going, that was nice. Or sometimes you brush your teeth and you're like, oh, there's a bit of blood in that. Oh, watch out for that. Watch out for that. But 9 times out of 10, you brush your teeth and you can't even remember doing it.
Yeah.
But you know that when you don't do it, you're like, you feel out of sorts for the day. If you don't do it for long enough, you'll have a dental emergency.
Yeah. Right.
Same thing. It's the same thing. So yeah, if you have a nice meditation, delicious.
Yeah.
Extra bonus points. If you don't, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that beautiful, you know, being okay with unmet expectations actually starts to seep through into your life. We don't sweat the small stuff. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, so friends cancelled. Well, I can get really offended by that and get really, really upset and frustrated, and or just go, okay, all right, that's fine. I'm sure you have your reasons.
Hmm.
And treating the situation with compassion.
Yeah. 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 And staying at a lower baseline, like you said, of the flight or fight stress
Mm,
level, staying at a lower baseline is going to keep you, you're going to be less likely to fall prey to a temptation or a craving or
right.
relapse because
Yes.
you're already here. Something comes
Yes.
along, you might come up here, but you'll go back down,
Yes.
based on what you're saying using the
Yeah.
meditation.
Yeah. That's that is exactly again bang on the nail. I've said to you beforehand there was a wasp that got in and started buzzing,
Yeah.
and I was starting to get a little bit het up because I was going to come on here now, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, that fucking thing is going to buzz for the whole thing. It's going to drive me crazy.
Uh,
And then I said to you, okay, radical,
Radical
acceptance.
acceptance.
I said radical acceptance, which is my little mantra to myself. Gone. It's gone.
Love it.
And I can't even remember what time it stopped buzzing.
I love that. I love that.
So yes, that's exactly it. You'll still get the flares, you'll still get the thing, but you're able to go, okay, we're okay, we're all
Yeah.
right. And you can respond as opposed to react.
Hmm. Yes.
And for relapses, for triggering all that kind of stuff, especially if you're in the pre-contemplation zone
Yeah.
where your mind is already going,
Premeditative. Yeah.
yeah, 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 absolutely. And yeah, it's like, oh, maybe something good could happen here. Oh, and then your logical brain is starting to then work out what's going on and how to do this.
Yeah.
You're like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. And I want to say, what sets your meditations apart, your channel apart for me, and that is that as addicts, especially the ones that I help, gay men,
Mm,
they are detached from their inner child.
mm,
That inner little boy is in there somewhere,
yeah,
but he's been locked away by whatever, what he didn't get,
yeah,
or what happened to him, or both.
yeah, yeah.
And that many of the men I work with are scared to death to unlock that, open that door, because the
Mm,
only time that little boy's been able to play is when you've got on Tina, and crystal meth. Tina took
mm,
away all your shame, all your guilt,
mm,
all your
mm,
layers, all your inhibitions, and all of a sudden your little boy gets to come out and play. You get to be
mm,
what you think of as yourself,
mm,
right?
mm,
What I love about your your character, which I don't know if you want to talk about, when you go into the TikTok channel, you'll see this monkey, and his name is
mm.
JOMO, right? But
Yeah.
I literally start jumping in my seat. I'm like starting to cry right now.
Oh, that's lovely.
Sorry.
No, that's brilliant. No,
Because
that's
it's just, there's something about, like, it raises your vibration so high and it's so fun. And you
yeah,
just don't mix your inner child with
yeah,
meditation unless you're doing a guided meditation that's hard,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you don't, like my little boy got to come out
yeah.
and play with this monkey. Um, but
Oh, I
also
love it.
meditate, and
Yeah,
learn more about it. And like you're
yeah,
saying, like through the practice of meditation, we're clearing away all that other static And you're
Yeah.
like you said, you're allowing what you're saying is you're allowed the mind begins to clean up.
Yeah.
And when it cleans up all the clutter, then your inner child, your little boy, does get to come out
Yeah.
more
Yes.
often.
Yes. Again, 100%. I love your reaction, by the way. I think it's so glorious because I get people right every single day saying thank you so much for what you do, and the amount of comments I have saying, "Oh my God, inner child repaired," and you're the first person I've seen, like a consumer, and your actual reaction to it, to him. Yeah, I mean, I invented JOMO. I should have got him ready actually. Maybe I'll get him ready. I'll get him ready in a second.
Okay.
I invented JOMO. Initially, it was I've always loved, for some reason, dabbled with puppetry and stuff like that, and I've always thought it was a very powerful thing to actually have them online and to treat them almost like they're properly real. And I
Right.
did it with my nephew years and years ago, and it was like it was instantly addictive for him. And I thought, okay, there's something here. And so, because I called it Monkey Mind, I thought, well, clearly the person who's got to
Yeah.
lead it is a monkey.
I love
So
it.
I,
Yeah.
I called the monkey JOMO, JOMO, which stands for the joy of missing out.
I love it.
And I love the fact I wanted him in a little natty waistcoat. You guys call it a vest, and a little hat.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I've always had a lot of lovely compliments about my voice. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just give him my
Yes.
voice. Normally, I would have silly voices, and I've got I have a very Camp American dragon. I have a very posh,
Yeah.
um, uh, uh, stately home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I thought, no, he just gets my voice. He gets my voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started to do it initially with kids in mind, but because I started to do it on TikTok, more and more adults kind of were drawn to it and just loved sitting there, because you're right. It's a childhood. People have said to me, it's like a childhood friend holding my hand, saying, "It's gonna be okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm here for you. And I can't solve your problems, but we can sit together." And it's making me cry now.
Yeah.
Um, and that has been joyous, absolutely joyous, to to behold. And people come in regularly, and now what's happened is that the community has grown and grown and grown, and the beautiful moderators, they understand, and they're there to help people and hold people and what they say, hold space for them. And they're also there to shoot down any people who come on who are just awful and nasty. Of course, there's going to be few.
Yeah.
They're very, very, very quick at that. We're
great.
very
Okay.
expert. Yeah, we call it pew-pewing. Pew. But now the community will go, mods, pew pew, and it's like, phew, that person's gone. But now the community hold people. So when people will come on and say, I've been bullied, or I'm whatever it might be, and everyone will rally round and say, I'm so sorry to hear that. Stick with us, stick with JOMO, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I wish the TikTok algorithm would be slightly more generous,
Yeah.
with the amount of people that puts our way.
Yes.
But of course, a lot of the times TikTok just wants money.
Right.
And I'm not one for asking for gifts.
Yeah.
People give gifts and all that kind of malarkey. But it's beautiful whenever he starts the meditation that people suddenly the chat goes really quiet.
Yeah.
Which is terrible for engagement.
Right. Yeah.
But absolutely bang on for what I want to do.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. That's interesting. That's an interesting dichotomy.
Very much so.
Want more people to see it, but they have to be quiet to do the meditation.
Very, very much so. But do you want to see him?
Yes, please.
He's looking a bit scruffy because I haven't. Normally, I do his hair. He was. I took the design to some pretty serious puppet makers, who have been, they've done things like the Dark Crystal and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
So So he's as professional as you're ever going to get.
Well, I would say so. He's very realistic. And by the way, if you're listening and you want to see JOMO,
Yes,
you could go. The TikTok channel link will be in the show notes, but also this video will be on YouTube. So, hi,
absolutely.
JOMO.
Hello, how are you?
I'm
And his voice
great.
is slightly different from mine. It's just slightly more mellow, like that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
he was specially made so that I could close his eyes and do the meditation and stuff like
I
that.
love that.
So and he's got this little hat
I
here.
love. Oh,
And
hi.
this is the funniest thing, right? Because in order to try and drive engagement, we encourage people to like stuff.
Right.
And so what happens now is whenever it hits a certain amount, people got very excited when they found out he had a hat. They got tremendously. They said, "Oh, you haven't seen his little hat. You haven't seen his little hat. Wait till he gets his little hat out." And so now, whenever we hit 40,000,
Wow.
you get to see the 40,000. Well, not people, but likes.
Right. Likes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
You get the hat of joy,
Oh.
which is why it's now got a little heart on it. And he shows you his hat of joy, and he sings a little song. And then at 80,000, you get a different song.
Wow.
And then when we hit 100,000, you get "You Are My Sunshine" and "The Bare Necessities."
That's totally worth it. Yeah.
People love it.
I can imagine.
They love it. It's like, and they're tremendously disappointed if they hit that don't hit that target. You know.
I love that.
So there's grand plans for him. You know, I mean, you can already get your own like custom made JOMO meditations, and he's got his own meditations, and I'm hopefully going to start doing like morning meditations for both here and the States.
Okay.
That families and schools and kids and all sorts of stuff can log into outside of the TikTok realm.
Yes.
So there's plans for the brand.
Yes. Good. You've got something.
Thank you.
I'm not the expert, but you've got something.
Well, you are, because you know. I have made a grown man cry.
Yeah. Well, if you knew me, that's yeah. I cry. I cry a lot. I cry a lot.
I'm a crier myself, to be fair. So yeah, so that's not much of a challenge for me. But that's really, really important, because that's what, like you say, that's what's allowing people to do. And many people tell me halfway through it, they'll say, "I'm in floods of tears."
Yeah.
You know, and we do meditations about meeting your, you know, future you.
Yeah.
We do meditations about hugging past you. And just hold, you know, and yeah, absolutely. And I take people on all sorts of weird and wonderful rides and adventures. Last night we did, where was it last night? Oh yeah, we did a Japanese feudal garden meditation.
I love that.
But I try and do different types. So there's a mindfulness meditation, there's a loving kindness meditation, and then there's a visualization and a sleep story. So, and it's just glorious. Just love it.
Yeah. I checked all of your offerings out, and please do, when you go to Monkey Mind Meditation's TikTok page, look at his stand store. There's so many offerings there. You could take the meditation class. And
absolutely.
And so many offerings that you have there.
There is, and I'm just currently recording a series of meditations for people that struggle with addiction and recovery.
Oh wow! Okay, perfect.
So there's actually a full session. There's about 6 meditations dealing with kind of every aspect of recovery.
Wow, I love
and
that.
Well, I have not seen it anywhere. And so I thought, well, I know firsthand what to write about, and so let's do that. So do watch out for that. Yeah, that would be.
Yes, please, and please, let me know too. I do a lot of guided meditations with my visualizations and stuff like that with my clients, but nothing like what you're saying. I mean, what you're talking about is completely different. I want people to know that, who's listening. Just because you listen to some guided meditations, or even mine, that is very separate from what Jason is talking about here. Would you offer any kind of just quick not a pro tip like Mr. Elements, Mr. Airbender, but any quick tips for somebody who wants to get started? I mean, I don't want to give away your techniques, obviously, because
Yeah.
that's if you're interested in Jason's
Yeah.
techniques, enroll in his class. But any
Yeah.
quick
Yeah. Yeah.
tips? Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I start small. Okay. The trick is to try and build a consistent habit with all these things.
Yeah.
And so, you know, don't rush into it. Do it one time and go, I haven't hit nirvana. This is rubbish. All right.
Yeah.
It is called a practice for a reason. And to understand that if you can start and do 2 minutes a day, that's brilliant. If you can keep it as a consistent habit. And then up it. Or, you know, find the right meditation that suits you as well. That's really, really important. You know, I love visualization meditations, but they're just nice to do. The same as it's nice to watch, you know, a Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
Do they actually nourish my soul long term? Probably not, but they're just a very nice thing to do. So I think understand that as well, and just be comfortable.
Yeah.
Just get comfy. All right, just
And
get comfy, be consistent, and whatever happens in the meditation is supposed to happen.
yeah. And turn the phone off. Right.
Switch your damn phone off. Once you finish watching JOMO, then
Right.
that's what I have to say to it. People say to me, how do I get to sleep well? I think switch this off after I've finished.
Yeah.
So that's what that would be my advice. Oh, where are you? You vanished.
Well, thank you so much for this.
Absolute pleasure.
I'm just in love with what you're doing, and I want to support it in any way. Where can we find you? To ask.
So you'll find me on all the socials as Monkey Mind Meditation.
Okay.
And then my website's a bit janky, to be honest. I don't really like the website, but go to the socials, find me there, and then you can follow the link to where I'm kind of really at on my stand store. So Monkey Mind Meditation, you will find it. Definitely you'll find it.
Yeah.
And it's very obvious because it doesn't look like any other meditation website area.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. No, you're right. You're exactly right. I love the scrumptious colors. Is there anything that I didn't ask today that you wish I would have asked or I didn't go over, didn't touch on?
No, I think we've been pretty. I mean, this is stuff that we discussed before, you and I.
Yeah.
And we had very great discussions about stuff, and I think that's everything's there. Again, anything more, you're probably gilding a lily. That's overthinking. Let's just make this activity kind of fun and effective. And enjoy the community of people. There's so many people out there who just want to get better together. And the strength is in the community. I mean, that's what the Dharma is all about. Buddhism and stuff like that. The strength is in the community, and JOMO often says, we're all here across the world holding hands together in the dark. And which is I just love, even though he's sitting there in the light, but metaphorically we're all holding hands. So come along to the lives, say hello, and if you want to say hello to me, then just message me. That'd be great.
Great, good. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. If you like this episode, please help me by rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you can, because the more you do that, the more we get we show up in front of people who need to see the podcast. By the way, I picked a great name, but a not so great name. AfterMeth is very creative. However, it's not good with the SEO because SEO doesn't understand the word aftermath. It thinks it's aftermath. And so when people type in aftermath, it autocorrects to aftermath. Anyway, that's something I'm dealing with now. But the best way to help that with the CEO optimization is to rate and review the podcast everywhere. Share it, like it, send it to your friends, get it going out there, and get more people looking at it. So with that, we will see you all next week. Okay, guys, welcome to the after party of our podcast with Monkey Mind Meditation. My friend Jason, and he is going to lead us in a meditation he's working on for a series that you're doing for addicts, correct?
That's right. Yeah. Just taking all kind of aspects of the road to recovery. And so there'll be meditations for every kind of step of the way and things like that.
Nice.
The one I've got here is when we suddenly got a bit of a craving, where suddenly we kind of get hit, and so it will be all about being kind of mindful of that and sitting with it. So there's a certain element of bravery involved here.
Yeah.
to sit with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm ready.
Okie doke. So close your eyes. And listen to my voice. And we always start our meditations by taking 3 big, deep breaths in. So big, deep breath 1. Hold, let go. And again, in. Hold, let go. One final time, in. Hold, let go. And just let your breath fall back into a nice regular pattern. Excuse me. And we'll do a brief body scan to see if there's any part that might be currently holding on to tension or stress. So starting from the top of our head, gently work our way down through the body. And wherever you notice any tension or tightness or knottedness, in the next few breaths, just start to let it melt and drift away. And we're going to start by acknowledging any cravings that you might be experiencing. And we're going to acknowledge them without judgment. And we're just going to acknowledge that this is just a sensation. And it's just a wave passing through you. And like all waves, they come and they go. So just sit with that for a moment or two. Remembering that this craving does not define you. It is temporary. It is fleeting. And it'll pass just like the clouds in the sky. So at this point, just notice any thoughts or emotions that might accompany this feeling. Now, they may be intense, but they do not have control over you. Bringing your awareness back to your breath. Feeling the rise and fall of your chest. And the steady rhythm that grounds you in this moment. The understanding that cravings are your brain's way of seeking relief. It's a pattern. It's learned over time. But you have the power to create new patterns. And each breath you take is a reminder of your strength and your resilience. Inhaling that calm and exhaling that tension. Become aware of the sensations in your body. Where do you feel the craving most intensely? Just be brave and observe it without reacting. And know that by observing your cravings, you're weakening their grip. You're taking back control, step by step. Cravings may come with stories and justifications. So we recognize these stories for what they are. It's attempts to rationalize giving in. But the beauty of this is you do not have to believe them. Each moment you resist the craving, you're building up new pathways in your brain. And these pathways, they lead to freedom, and they lead to peace of mind. So being brave and sitting with that discomfort, but also feel the empowerment of choosing not to act on that craving. This is your strength manifesting. Reminding yourself of your reasons for wanting to overcome this challenge. These reasons are your anchor. They're your guiding stars. Cravings like waves in the ocean. Some are big, some are small. But they all eventually subside. Hold on. Let that wave pass. And each time you resist, you're one step closer to breaking free. Trust the process. Trust your resilience. And if that craving feels overwhelming, bring your attention back to your deep, steady, calm breath. Sitting through these feelings and breathing through them is a great thing. It teaches you that you can endure and that you can overcome. Knowing that you're not alone in this struggle. Many have walked this path and emerged stronger and you too will find strength. And every moment where you can breathe through this is a victory. So celebrate these small victories because they're building blocks for lasting change. Remain patient with yourself. Change takes time. And every effort you make is a step forward towards your goal. And as the meditation draws to a close, just acknowledge the effort that you have made. You're doing the most important work of all. So finally, take one nice, big, deep breath in. Hold and let go. Just start to wriggle your fingers and your toes, and your wrists and your ankles. And stretch it out a wee bit. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
I almost fell asleep.
You almost fell asleep?
Yeah.
Well, if you thought, go on.
I dozed for a minute.
If you fall asleep in meditation, it probably means you need to sleep.
Yeah.
You know,
That is a true statement. That was yeah, there's something about your voice that just makes it it's the key. It's really the key to these meditations, I think.
Yes, I have to draw a fine line sometimes. The sleep stories that I put on TikTok are proving insanely popular for helping people to sleep.
I can see that.
So JOMO's telling his little stories, and they're all just all snoozing away. But anyway, I hope you kind of enjoyed that.
Yes,
that meditation.
That's great. That's great. That's awesome. And would you suggest then, if I'm having cravings periodically, even doing the meditation when I'm not having a craving as a proactive exercise would be correct?
Absolutely,
helpful?
Yes.
Helpful.
Yeah, it's like prevention's better than cure, really.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have a tendency to use meditation as a kind of in case of emergency break glass kind of affair.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you have a consistent and regular meditation practice, that really does quash the spikes in anxiety and stress and cravings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, it's when you're in recovery, it probably won't stop the cravings from coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's obviously a natural, the body's gonna want it, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But that strength to sit and breathe and just get through that 10, 15 minutes that spike gives us, that's crucial, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And so, I would say, have a regular meditation practice, but then you could actually have something like this as your, whoa, I'm starting to feel it now. Right, okay.
Yeah. And like you said, it's a practice. So I would assume that the more you do it, then when the craving comes on, you just organically go into meditation mode, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And like the meditation said, it strengthens it. No, you're not going to hit nirvana first time,
Right.
It's the key is practice, as you said. But knowing that you have that tool at your disposal is really, really good. It's really, really good. I love that.
I love that. And so, if we were interested in buying or getting these meditations, when will they be available?
Hopefully in the next kind of week or so.
Okay.
They're going to be on my website.
Okay.
Um, I'll put those all on there, and there'll be a little bit of chit chat and stuff like that. When I do them, also I'll be putting on some very nice music and stuff like that, so it can
Yeah.
really kind of people can immerse themselves in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If people obviously want to learn to meditate, then they can do
Mm-hmm.
that with me as well. That's still on there as well, where
Mm-hmm.
we would have kind of one-to-ones and chit chat,
Yeah.
and then I build them up over 30 days,
Okay.
so that they have kind of a regular, like, so that's their framework kind of
Mm.
meditation
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
that does the trick, and it's great. I've been doing some work with London Friend,
Oh
London
yeah.
Friend,
Mm-hmm.
Antidote,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Antidote. Mm-hmm.
Great, great bunch of guys and gals. I did some pre meditations for them a few years ago, and we're going to start that
Mm.
up again.
Nice.
Which is really really nice, to be able to
Mm-hmm.
kind of help people who are really really struggling. So yeah, that's
Yeah. I love that. I love this. Good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. And again, if you're listening, go the Jason's Monkey Mind meditation information will be in the show notes. Please go to the
yeah.
website if you want to learn meditation with him. Please, he has a special running, I guess, or is it about to end? I get you.
Just about to.
Yeah. Oops.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So jump on there.
I tell you what. I'll give you a code, and
Oh,
we can have it. Let's do
oh,
that.
nice. Yeah. Give me a
So
code. We'll put the code in the show notes and use the code. You
yeah,
get a discount. Yay.
yeah, exactly, exactly,
I love
exactly.
that. I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
All right, guys. We will see you all next week.
Okay.